Hi, everybody. Welcome to your Denver Home Advocate Report, your Colorado information source with our Colorado Home Advocate, Don Betts. How are you, Don?
I'm very good today. And yourself?
Excellent, as always. Click on the information. It's down in the description. If you can't remember that, type in Home Advocates. You can find Don's information right on the front page. Lots of ways to find Don and get involved with him. I cannot recommend anybody for the state of Colorado with more integrity and drive to help people than Don Betts. There's no greater compliment that I can give based on his last deals of trying that hard for human beings. So please take advantage, give him a call. As always, Don, let's jump right in where we always jump in. How is the Metro doing? Other than you need a quarterback.
Yeah, that's the best $245 million we ever spent. We'll see how that works. But we are basically the trend that we've seen over the last several weeks continues. Although we're seeing a little bit of increase in inventory, it's not significant from week to week. What is significant, and as I've said in previous videos, is that we rarely see the inventory levels rise in October, November. They go down here, and we are holding steady. So that is something to watch. I think just digging into the numbers a little bit, we're seeing quite a few back on markets, more than normal. And so that tells me that these are deals that are falling out because of financing issues. As we all know, what's happening with interest rates. So people are finding a way to get out of a contract because of the high interest rates and terms and conditions or whatever it is. So deals are falling out. We are not seeing that many new listings. So the inventory is staying up because we have so many people backing out of contracts. And as a result, days on market is going up, although slightly. So that's what's happening. It's a churn right now.
So I wonder if by comparison, the cash investors, because Denver is a traveled metro that is still a great investment opportunity for the cash crowd, as compared to what we were talking about, the very fluctuating interest rates. Is that kind of your vibe to the whole thing?
I'm glad you asked that because I know I don't have a great easy source for this information. I did take a look at it in the last day or so. And I looked back at the last 30, 60, 90 days, those months, and we were about 20 to 21% of the closings were cash deals. And then I just picked a month before the interest rates went up, and picked December of last year, and we were 15% of deals were cash deals. So that doesn't sound like a lot, but it shows that the investors are still buying, cash is still out there, and people who need mortgages are backing out.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if the number wouldn't be, for those that don't know how that whole thing works, generally speaking, a property is purchased all cash by an investor or someone looking to do the Airbnb Vrbo model. They hold it approximately a few months and then they turn around and they finance it off. And theoretically, the income from the property pays the loan and you get all your cash back so that you're liquid to do and repeat the model. That is a very basic investment model that everybody uses. And it'll be interesting to watch. You seem to be going through a lot of what South Florida or Jane's going through, where it's leveling off or correcting appropriately. it's not a dramatic drop off like say here in Vegas or some other places that are Phoenix for that matter, where they're showing these dramatic drops already within the first couple of months.
Yeah, we're not dropping off any cliff, but the trend is definitely down. As I think I said in last week's or the week before, we've now had five months, month over month decrease in the median values. So that's significant. You
Yes.
never see that many, there's always a little trail off at the end of summer and the start of fall, but not 5 months.
It'll be very interesting to see how it plays out, which the question would be, is the job market still strong in the metro?
Yeah, it is. I just looked at statistics this morning and, we're holding in that 3.4 unemployment rate. So the market continues to be strong. And I think we saw from the national jobs report that overall the job market in the country is still very strong. So these are conflicting trends.
It's
We'll have to
something to
see what
keep an
happens.
eye on. It's definitely
Yes.
something to keep an eye on. If you're a seller, we scream about it every week. I scream about it even in South Florida, which is you guys are watching equity slide by. Especially for those that have missed payments. I think that an economist, actually an investment portfolio manager, Michael Burry, said it's like watching a slow airplane crash, really slow coming back into the ground. What bothers me about watching it in a Denver metro or San Diego, it's happening, a city that saw great escalation. Nobody's taking advantage of this equity that they've accrued. And it's going to be gone. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to take 5 months of trends and go, hey, that's the direction down. And based at this rate, this time next year, you're going to see $100,000 or $200,000 of equity slide away. I don't know if the course can correct itself. I feel that interest rates are going to go up. That would lead us to our last questions, which is buyers and that pesky interest rate that nobody can seem to pin down.
Well, it's definitely affecting the mindset, and we talk about your forecast on where interest rates are going to go. I mean, I was just looking at there's a the consensus among quote the experts. What is it? For the rest of the year, it's going to average like it's going to get down below 6% again, and it's going to average. I think it's 5.6 is what Wells.
Well, if you're
Fannie-
averaging for the whole year, I mean, it's going to look
well, for the last
fantastic.
quarter is what they're saying.
Oh yeah. No, but what they're ultimately probably going to do by the end of the year is we'll average it out for the entire year. The interest rate was right here for that year, and we'll just blow it all off. But we're looking at interest rates. It was interesting talking to a couple of people and doing these calls with other advocates. The question is, where does it officially land? I'm sure it's going to go all the way to 8 and possibly even to 9 before this is over, to try to increase the amount of inventory ultimately in the United States. My question is, where does it finally land? Does it land back at 5 or 6? And if that's the case, you might as well take advantage of it right now while it's a buyer's market.
Well, the mortgage brokers are out there saying, buy now at 6.75 and quote, when rates go back down to 5 or 4.5 or whatever their guess is, we'll refinance it for free, at that point,
Right.
which is
Right.
a sales pitch. And if you're right, and you've been right, if it goes to 8, well, that's not going to help them out.
No,
So,
and the other problem is people now are being peddled the 5-1 and the 10-1 arm options.
yes,
That is really prevalent. And I've even had news given to me of zero down programs again. That's bad. That's bad news. I mean, all of those have junk fees loaded into them. So not only would you be refinancing, you'd be refinancing all the money that you owe on whatever that deal was on top of it. And people don't know the difference. They don't. It's the way HELOCs were ultimately peddled back in 2006 and 5. And we, that worked out really well in 2007, 8, 9, and 10.
I'm sure some of us have files from the days of the wraps,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
1980, 81, when just
The fact that we have to have a weekly conversation of finding creative financing terms to keep people viable in the market, because there are people who need to buy and sell. I keep saying this, there will always be an industry for real estate unless they come up with something, radically different.
the job market helps that. Point
Yeah.
is that we're still creating new jobs, and sometimes when you get an offer for a good job, you have to move.
Yep.
And so you need to sell and you need to buy, and those are good paying jobs, or they won't be moving you. So
Yeah.
that's a good
I
target.
completely
And
agree.
my point is if you're right and it goes to 8%, and you're sitting there with a 3% loan on your house, and nobody can buy your house because it's 8% now, you're going to come up with creative financing to sell it at the market value, and those things are going to come back.
Yeah. And because rents are so far out of whack,
Right.
almost everywhere, it's people are caught between a rock. There's no surprise at the number of homeless people. There's no surprise at what's happening right now, because both of these numbers are completely out of alignment. And the cost of living, the cost of, in general, is not matching what people are getting paid. I mean, you tell me there's 200,000 jobs, but they're all at Walmarts and McDonald's. That doesn't really cut it if I want to live somewhere. Unless I have 5 roommates, making the country into New York City almost, where you're getting shoe boxes for pennies on the dollar with a roommate, a studio with a roommate in a shoebox to live in New York type situation. And
It's share the bedroom in shifts. Okay.
yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, it's still happening in Florida, and it's just remarkable to watch this all play out. Please call Dawn if you're thinking of buying or selling. And the last thing, as we always end on it, how is the activity on evictions for renters and homeowners?
Gosh, I really, I've talked to a couple agents this week, and everybody's got so much equity, so they're finding a solution to avoid getting evicted. I don't know what renters are doing. I don't see that many evictions, although I know you say it's coming. The thing about that is, I think I don't want to use this word very loosely, but I think the banks, it's in general, are at least trying to work with people that are in default and are in foreclosure. A couple of others that I've been talking to, they've been able to get delays on their foreclosure sales. So we'll see.
Yeah, it really is. The question is it the midterm they're waiting for, or are they waiting till officially, I think LA County is the last location of the February mandate on evictions? Because it's one of those two events that I feel like they're waiting on before they start sort of rolling these things out on a much larger scale. Because we're at numbers
Yes,
that are lower than prior to the pandemic still, which makes no sense. Those people didn't go anywhere.
I think that based upon the the vacancy rate in the general apartment, um, uh, the strength of the apartment rental in Denver is better than what you're referring to in Vegas and in California in general. The job market is good here, and so people are able to pay their rents. I don't think we have as many renters in default as in some other parts of the country.
I would agree. And it's one of the things propping up South Florida. Thing I keep checking on is what is the job market's like? Because she goes, everybody's employed. It's not that way, say in San Diego. Everybody's out and about. Nobody works in San Diego. I can't figure out how they operate down there at all. Same can be said about LA County. Orange County is a more affluent area with many of the original tech companies, and that's why Orange County, California is still so strong to this day. They've maintained their values. So there is something to be said about jobs that pay in association to the value of property. I think there's something very much to be said about that. It is something that keeps getting brought up, especially with South Florida.
And and I know California a little bit because I lived there for a long time. And one of the other things that you have going in California that in some areas are not experiencing is that you have lots of foreign buyers coming in with lots of money.
Yep.
So the overall population may be stagnant, and a lot of people are moving out of California, but you have wealthy Asians coming in and buying because they have money, and that's a percentage of the market that helps support it. So that could be part of it.
Absolutely. It's hard to say. It's all going to wash out here
Yeah.
in the next few months. And I cannot stress it again for anybody watching. Please take advantage of your equity. It is not static. It will not be there forever. It's inevitable where this is all going to go. It certainly is going to come back to something more reasonable, depending on where you are, what area you're in. And in some places more dramatic, but your equity will not be the same this time next year. It's impossible. I can't even see a scenario where this can repair itself, where suddenly prices start to accelerate again. I think, unless I'm completely wrong, is there any possible way that when we're having a conversation like this next year, the market will be in a better position?
It depends on interest rates.
Right.
And we really don't know. I mean, again, we've had this discussion over and over. Interest rates are going to cause people to make a decision, and I'm hoping that people will say that this 6% rate that we're seeing, 6.5, Freddie Mac was at 6.66 last week. That's ain't that bad right now. Get in, buy, and see what it depends on your view. This 7-year window is what people need to look at. This is not a time to buy for flips.
Yep, I completely agree. Take advantage, give Don a call, use the information in the description. Can't remember that. Write down Home Advocates, look it up. Don's right on the front page. Anything you'd like to add this week, Don?
No, just give me a call. I've got time. Help. Let's work on something.